everyone, and welcome back to English with Lucy. I am here once again in front of possibly the most beautiful tree in England. I don't know, no offence to other trees. Now, today we are going to be talking about small talk because I don't want to jinx it, but it seems that the world is, or some places in the world are slowly opening up again. Here in the UK, supposedly, we have Freedom Day on the 19th of July, where nightclubs, bars and everything open up again and people have the choice to not wear masks anymore. Let me know what the situation is like in your country in the comments section down below. And when I heard about this Freedom Day from the pandemic, I suddenly thought, oh my word, I have not been in a big room of people having to make conversation in a year and a half. So I thought today we could talk about small talk, and I'm actually going to give you 50 different small talk questions that you can use in your next social event. Because not only are you learning English, you are also probably a little bit out of practice. There's nothing worse than trying to make conversation in another language and just having loads of boring, embarrassing silences. So all of these questions, or nearly all of them, are open-ended, so you can get really good answers from the other person. As always, I have created a free PDF that goes with this video if you'd like to download it. All you've got to do is click on the link in the description box, you enter your name and your email address, you sign up to my mailing list, and then I send the PDF directly to your inbox, and then every week after that, you will automatically receive my free PDFs, plus all of my news, offers, and course information. Before we get started, I would like to thank the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare, which is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people. There are so many classes to choose from writing to design, to animation, to business, to productivity. I recently took a class called Email Productivity, Work Smarter with Your Inbox by Alexandra Samuel, and it transformed my email game. Emails used to stress me out so much, and this 45-minute class just taught me to filter through everything and organize my email game. Skillshare is curated specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads and they are always launching new premium classes so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click on the link in the description box will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare Premium so you can start exploring your creativity. Right, let's get started with the small talk. I have divided the 50 small talk questions into 5 different categories. The first one being travel, which is something that most of us haven't been able to do a lot of recently. But hopefully things are getting back to normal and we will be able to attend conferences and make small talk with people we don't know. Yes! The first question, a really good one if you're in a new country and you're speaking to a local. Do you know of any hidden gems around here? A hidden gem is something really, really great, a really great place or restaurant that tourists don't generally know about. In fact, not many people know about it. You kind of have to hear about it to go there. When I travel, I always ask around for the hidden gems. You could also put it in more simple terms. Is there anything I should know about around here? Are there any places I should know about? Now, generally, when it comes to small talk, it's really good to ask open questions, questions that can't be answered with a yes or a no, because if they answer with no, then it really shuts down the conversation. But I think this next one is an exception. Have you got any trips planned? If they say no, you can move on to another topic of small talk. If you know the person you're talking to and you know they went on a trip recently, you can say, tell me about your trip to Hawaii. Would you recommend it? If there's one thing I've learnt, people love talking about their past holidays. Another great topic to bring up is food whilst traveling. You could say something like, I love trying new cuisines. Have you been anywhere with really great food? If you're with a fellow foodie, then you know conversation's going to flow. The next one is a great one for international conferences where you know that the majority of people have come in from another location. One question I like to ask in those situations is, Have you got any tips for jet lag? I really struggle with it, so if you do have any tips, please do put them in the comment section. Now, what about if you are in your hometown but someone else has come in to visit? You could say, let me know if you need any recommendations. I know this area pretty well. That's a great opportunity for them to follow up with, yeah, actually, I'm looking for somewhere for dinner tonight. Do you know anywhere? And then you panic because you've lived here for 10 years and you've hardly gone out. That was like me in London as a student. I lived there for 3 years, but because I never had any money, I never went to any restaurants. So when people ask me, oh, where should I go in London? I have no idea. I just ate microwave meals. Another great question is asking what sort of holiday or trip someone prefers. You could say, do you prefer a fly and flop holiday or an adventure? A fly and flop holiday is what it says on the tin. You fly out to the destination, you flop on a sunbed and you remain there for 1 to 2 weeks and then you fly home. Another interesting question to do with the pandemic is, has the pandemic affected your travel plans at all? And this will probably open up a lot of moaning from the other person. It would from me. The pandemic ruined our honeymoon. And the last one, number 10, is, so when are you heading back? What do you want to do before you go back? Right, let's move on to the topic of work. Maybe you're trying to get to know your new colleagues or your existing colleagues that you've hardly met before. It's really nice to have a couple of small talk questions up your sleeve to combat those awkward silences. The first one, so how did you get into marketing? How did you get into sales? It's a really nice general one, and it invites the person to tell you a little bit about their work history. Two really interesting ones are, what is the best career advice you've ever received? And then the next one, what's the worst career advice you've ever received? I use this one a lot and I get some really interesting answers, especially for the worst career advice. The next one, a nice theoretical one. If you were guaranteed to be successful, what job would you want? That's a really interesting one. I don't even know how I would answer that. You'll get your partner thinking there. Another really fun one is, what is the craziest thing a boss has ever asked you to do? I think the craziest thing a boss has ever made me do, he didn't ask me, is I had to knock on his door in the middle of the night to beg for him to pay me. It was 2 months late and I needed my money. This next one is a nice way of making someone feel part of your conversation. You could say, I was just talking to a colleague about our first jobs. What was yours? Everyone who is currently working has a first job. A really good and easy one is, how long have you been working at company? How long have you been working at Lucy International? My whole life, darling. A topic that's in the news quite a lot recently. What do you think about this 4-day work week? I've been seeing that coming up a lot on my news apps. And I think it sounds like a fantastic idea. If people can still maintain good productivity, give the people an extra day off. Work to live, don't live to work. Bringing it back to the pandemic, have you had to work from home recently? How did you find working from home? That's a really good topic because that shook up the lives of many people over here in the UK and I'm sure all across the world as well. And the last one, have you got any plans for the weekend? I remember Friday and sometimes even Thursday afternoon when I did work in an office, all we could talk about was the weekend and I loved it. I used to count down those hours until it was 5 o'clock on a Friday evening. Oh, yes. All right, next topic, current events or current affairs. Now, obviously, people are going to talk about the pandemic. So one question you could ask is, has the pandemic affected you much? But remember that lots of people have lost loved ones in this, so they might not want to focus too much on it. Another one, if this person is from another country, you could say, how are you all getting on back home? This invites them to open up about how the pandemic has affected their country, if they want to talk about it. Another variation is, how has the pandemic changed life for you? Some really great conversation starters are the next three. I read in the paper that, I saw on the news that, or I heard on the radio that. And then obviously you can speak about what you've seen, heard, or read recently. If you know that your conversation partner is a sports fan, you could say, did you catch the game? Even if you don't know which game it was. Hopefully, just by saying the game, they'll know which game you were talking about, but make sure you have a game up your sleeve for if they say, what game? If there has been an interesting or negative situation in another country and you've been following it on the news, you could ask something like, have you been following what's been going on in, for example? Again, if the person is from another town or city or country, you could say, so what's the latest news where you're from? And the last one, a really interesting question that somebody asked me the other day is, which news outlets do you prefer? And then they asked why. And this can invite the person to share, kind of indirectly, a little bit of their political leanings, which is quite interesting. Right, the next topic is social events. I haven't been to a big social event, well, I've said it before, in a year and a half. And I'm nervous. I'm very, very nervous. So I can't imagine how nerve-wracking it will be in a second language or a foreign language. So here are some questions for you to have up your sleeve to fill in those silences. The first one, what brings you here? What brings you here? And that invites them to say, oh, well, I work with, or I know, or I'm going out with, for example. If you meet somebody and you have a mutual friend, you could ask, so how do you know Tom, for example? I always find that a compliment goes a long way, as long as it's a genuine one. So you could say, wow, your dress is so unique. Where did you get it from? I'm in two minds about the next question. Are you enjoying yourself? Sometimes it can be a little bit patronising, so you've got to say it in the right tone. But if somebody says no, that opens up a bonding opportunity. If you're also not enjoying yourself, you can say, oh, thank God, me neither. I hate social occasions. If you aren't enjoying a social situation, you could say something like, I really don't normally like crowded events like these. How about you? And if the person says, I love them, then you know you might not be friends. But if they say, God, yes, I hate them too, friend for life, instantaneous. If you see somebody who is hovering around on their own, you could go up to them and say, do you know many people here? And if they say no, well then you can stand and chat with them instead. I absolutely love it when I'm on my own at an event and somebody comes in to save me. I really, really like that. Right. More pandemic. A really good way of bonding with someone else is to kind of share a bit of vulnerability. And one thing you could say is, hello, I've actually not been around another human in a whole year, so I'm feeling really awkward right now. How are you feeling? That's a good invitation for you to bond over just feeling out of practice and not knowing how to behave in social situations anymore. Another one, I'm desperate for everything to get back to normal. What have you missed most? Or when is the last time that you were able to go to a proper party like this and you can both bond over how much you've missed out on? And the last one, I really like this one. It's very meta. What is your best tip for figuring out small talk these days? I love it because they could instantly say something like, just don't talk about the weather. So then you know not to talk to them about the weather. But that actually brings me on to my next topic, the weather. Come on, I'm British. Of course, I'm going to talk to you about the weather. I did save this one for last because I know that it's almost a cliche to talk about the weather in Britain whilst participating in small talk, but our weather just changes so much. When I started filming this video, it was sunny and now it looks like it's going to rain. Look at me, I'm talking about the weather. If it's a beautiful day, you can say, it's such a beautiful day, isn't it? And then everyone else goes, oh yes, it is, it's lovely. Yes, very nice. We haven't had one like this in ages. Or an alternative, we couldn't ask for a nicer day, could we? And everyone else goes, no, we couldn't. It was wonderful, just lovely, so nice. Fortunately, we don't have many days like that in the UK, so we don't get to be all, oh yes, lovely, too frequently. If it's very sunny, you could say, did you bring this sunshine with you? Or did you order this sunshine? Oh, it's lovely. And then you can have a little joke about, yes, I brought it with me in my suitcase from Spain. So in the UK, we have a love-hate relationship with the meteorologist, with the weather person, because when they tell us it's going to be sunny, we love them. But when they tell us it's going to rain, we just don't believe them. And then we get caught out and about with no umbrella. One great topic to bring up is, I saw on the weather this morning that it's going to rain, it's going to hail, it's going to be sunny, there's going to be snow. What do you think? And then you can follow up with, what do you think? Do you believe them? Do you trust them? Another version is, do you trust the weather forecast today? Because they said it's going to rain, but it looks lovely. If it has been raining a lot, you can say, can you believe how wet it's been? Or can you believe all this rain we've been having? If you're in a foreign country, you can say, is the weather normally like this? Is it usually like this? A really interesting one is, what's the worst weather you've ever experienced? And that invites them to talk about maybe a country they've visited or just a prolonged period of terrible weather. So I've got 2 more small talk questions about the weather that kind of take the mickey. They joke about small talk relating to the weather. The first one is, why do we always end up making small talk about the weather? And then that invites you to make some small talk about the weather together. And the last one is it okay if I try to talk to you by pretending that I'm really interested in the weather? I think that's a great one to use at a situation like a conference where small talk can get a little bit much. Right, that is it for today's lesson. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something. Don't forget to check out Skillshare. Remember that the first 1,000 of my students to click on the link in the description box will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare Premium. You can also download the free PDF that goes along with this lesson. Just click on the link in the description box, enter your name and your email address, you sign up to my mailing list, and I send the PDF and all future PDFs to your inbox directly. Don't forget to connect with me on all of my social media. I've got my Instagram and I've got my website, englishwithlucy.co.uk, where I've got a really cool, if I do say so myself, pronunciation tool where you can click on different phonemes and hear me pronounce those phonemes and words